Hello, Canada, and bienvenue.
Bienvenue, Harry.
So, the Toronto Games in 2017 were incredible. And I'm told that there is pretty much no rivalry between East and West Coast, especially when it comes to sport. So I have a question for you, Vancouver. Are you ready to show Toronto and the world how the games are done? Good. We don't have to go through that again. That was perfect the first time. Thank you. I would like to begin by honoring the First Nations who are hosting this year's games. Lil'wat, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. Heitsap, Kukwilum. From the bid for the Games through to this week's competition, we have walked together side by side on this journey. And we are so grateful to you for having these Games on your land. Today and for the next week, Warriors unite. In this moment of difficulty and division in many parts of the world, we gather here in Vancouver in a spirit of unity. We represent 23 nations, speak many different languages, and reflect the full breadth of the world's religions and faiths. Beyond any differences, here at the Invictus Games, we are grounded in mutual respect, competing fiercely, but believing in one another, supporting one another, and rooting for one another. I love you guys. Listen, the games were born more than a decade ago from a promise that I made to myself. A promise to uphold my obligation, a sacred obligation after my own decade and privilege of military service. To do whatever I could to help my fellow brothers and sisters heal, and to champion everything that we stand for. Over the past decade, I've lost count of the times that we've heard you tell us that the Invictus Games saved you. Respectfully, I disagree. Invictus didn't save you. You saved yourself.
True.
It was you who pushed through the doubt and despair. You who summited your own mountain and brought us along with you. It was you who kept going even when you didn't think you had any more to give. We didn't do that. You did. The Games simply reveal what is already within you, that scarcest and most precious of the world's resources, character. A spirit of fortitude and perseverance that can never be defeated. That is the magic of the Invictus Games. For one of the most powerful ways of healing comes not from the hospital or recovery center, but from having a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, from being a part of something greater than ourselves. And that healing, though it begins with you, extends to your children and loved ones who delight in the simple gift of seeing you smile once again, of knowing your mind isn't someplace else and that you are fully present. At this moment, when there is no shortage of crises, no absence of uncertainty, no lack of weak moral character in the world, the values you embody, the way you carry yourselves, not only at the Invictus Games, but each and every day, your courage, your resilience, your humanity, illuminate a path forward for us all, and for that, we thank you. Your leadership did not end when you stepped off the battlefield or took off the uniform. It endures. The example you set is a compass for the world. We need you, and will always need you. Someone once asked Nobel laureate Toni Morrison how we survive whole in the world. And she replied, "Sometimes you don't survive whole, you just survive in part. But the grandeur of life is that attempt. It's not about that solution. It is about being as fearless as one can and behaving as beautifully as one can under completely impossible circumstances." So, as we embark on this year's competition, here is my challenge to all of you. Show the world how you behave under completely impossible circumstances. Show the world your fearlessness. Show the world the grandeur in your attempt at victory. Show the world why you are Invictus. Thank you.
The crowd sat in anticipation, the air electric with excitement, as the 2025 Invictus Games were officially kicked off. It wasn't just another opening ceremony, it was a moment that had been years in the making, a culmination of hard work, personal battles, and the shared strength of thousands. And as the world's attention turned to the grand stage, there was one figure at the heart of it all, ready to deliver a speech that would leave no one untouched. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, stood poised to deliver the opening ceremony speech, and the audience knew that this would be no ordinary address. As the lights of the arena shimmered, Prince Harry stepped up to the podium, looking more like a man on a mission than a royal figurehead. His face was a picture of determination, his posture strong yet relaxed, as though he were about to have a conversation with old friends. But there was more than a casual tone in his eyes. There was deep emotion, a reflection of the years of dedication to the Invictus Games, and the athletes who had made the journey to this very moment. It was as though he knew the power of this event was not just about competition, but about honoring the very human spirit that had been tested time and again. The stadium fell silent. The only sound was the distant rustling of flags waving in the wind, the anticipation hanging thick in the air like a heavy fog. And then, with a steady breath, Prince Harry began. "Ladies and gentlemen, athletes, families, and friends," he began, his voice steady, but already carrying the weight of 1,000 emotions, "I stand before you today, humbled and in awe of each and every one of you." He paused, giving the crowd time to soak in the depth of those words. There was a quiet reverence now, the kind that only moments like this can command. The athletes, many of whom had faced unimaginable challenges, sat in their seats, their hearts thumping in their chests. The families and supporters of those athletes looked on, eyes glistening with pride. Prince Harry wasn't just addressing a crowd, he was speaking directly to their hearts, tapping into the raw, unfiltered power of what the Invictus Games represented. "This is not just a sporting event," he continued, his voice gaining momentum, "it is a celebration of resilience, of determination, and of courage. It's a reminder that no matter the challenges we face, we are never, ever alone. As he spoke, the emotional weight of his words began to sink in, and it was impossible to ignore the ripple effect. The veterans in the audience, many of whom had fought on the front lines and seen more than their fair share of hardship, couldn't help but feel a deep stirring in their chests. There was something magnetic about Harry's presence. He wasn't just a royal figure, standing in front of a crowd. He was someone who truly understood what they had been through. And that made all the difference. I've witnessed firsthand the strength of the human spirit, he said, his voice catching slightly. And I've seen how each of you has faced adversity with a smile, with a laugh, and with the kind of bravery that the world should never forget. And then, the words that would make even the most stoic of hearts crack. It's not just about the victories on the field, or the medals hanging around necks. It's about the courage to keep going, the courage to fight for your place in the world, no matter what life has thrown at you. There it was, the emotional truth that could not be denied. For those who had served, who had sacrificed, and who had faced unimaginable trauma, the Invictus Games were not about competition. They were about proving that they were still capable, still strong, and still worthy. Worthy of love, worthy of recognition, worthy of a place in the world where they could stand tall, knowing their worth wasn't defined by their past, but by the courage they showed in the present. The veterans in the crowd, some with eyes glistening and some wiping away tears, were a testament to this sentiment. There was a quiet acknowledgement among them. This wasn't just a game, it was a lifeline. And in that moment, Prince Harry didn't just speak to them, he spoke for them. I know the road to get here hasn't always been easy, Harry continued. But you're here now, you've made it, and that in itself is a victory. It was at this point that the tears began to flow freely. Even the most stoic members of the audience, those who had lived through some of the most difficult experiences imaginable, couldn't hold back the emotions anymore. They wiped their eyes, trying to regain composure, but the floodgates had been opened. For many of them, this was the moment they realized that they weren't just surviving anymore, they were thriving. And it was thanks to moments like these, moments of recognition, celebration, and respect, that they had found the strength to keep moving forward. Harry continued, but his words now carried the weight of a shared experience. This is your moment, your time, and the world is watching. We are all watching. His eyes scanned the crowd, making eye contact with several athletes, their faces glistening with tears, but also with pride. You inspire us. You remind us of what it truly means to be human. And for that, we thank you. With a final, deeply heartfelt pause, he added, now, let's make these games a celebration. A celebration of you. The arena erupted into applause. The roar of the crowd was deafening, but it wasn't just the sound of celebration, it was the sound of recognition, the sound of appreciation, and the sound of healing. Prince Harry, despite being a figure of immense public interest, had just spoken the words that resonated with every single person in the stadium. The athletes, their families, and the supporters all stood as one,